Hello to anyone who is watching this on the internet. You're watching a game that was arranged through the Gauntlet, which is a community on the internet that gets together and plays tabletop role-playing games online. You can find also the Gauntlet does at gauntlet-rpg.com, where you'll find all sorts of things like blogs, forums. There is the zine that the Gauntlet puts out called Codex. Which usually contains, supplements to existing games or original games in itself. There's also the podcast network that Gauntlet does, all sorts of things from the main Gauntlet podcast to Plus One Forward, which is a podcast powered by the apocalypse. And also there's the Gauntlet Community Open Gaming, which is kind of like a mini online con where folks can come in and get to play games with the Gauntlet. Dates have not yet been completely set for the next one, but I have it in good authority that it is going to be sometime in the summer, which I know, which is a fairly big span of time. But between June and August, there we go. Some dates are being thrown out, and we're still hashing that out. But if you want to keep up with that, there'll be a link down below in the description. That also includes the Gauntlet calendar, to which this game and 100 plus a month games are arranged. So check it out if you want to play games with the Gauntlet, which are all pretty cool. This game in particular is part of a series that myself is running that I've kind of titled Future Creep. It's basically an excuse to play a bunch of cyberpunk games. And this is the first one. And then hopefully there'll be more in the future. So this game is called Neon Black. It is written and designed by Michael Elliott. It is a cyberpunk game forged in the dark, which means this is a hack of Blades in the Dark by John Harper. While Blades in the Dark is set in an industrial fantasy city haunted by near-dwells and scoundrels and ghosts or whatnot, Neon Black is set in a cyberpunk dystopia. It is a role-playing game about a community of people trying to survive in said cyberpunk dystopia. The world is full of people down on their luck, cheated by corporations and the villainous rich. You'll help those people. You, as in the players, will help those people go on dangerous heists, explore artificial realities, encounter friendly and nefarious machines. We play to find out if the community can survive amidst warring corporations, an unforgiving climate, and the indifference of the extravagantly wealthy. So no pressure there. So before we get started, I guess we should do a round of introductions because I didn't introduce myself. I'm gonna call on folks to introduce themselves, pronouns, and kind of what they're looking to see from this game, kind of just in general. It's fine if if you don't have anything specific other than just the vibes. Vibes are good. Uh, yeah, so I should introduce myself. Hi, my name's Leandro. This is my channel. My pronouns are he, him. And yeah, I was interested in this because some folks in a Discord server I'm in were raving about how this is not a cyberpunk game about looking cool, about plugging in cyberware to become the most badass operator in the streets. This is a game specifically about helping a community. This is a game about specifically being part of a community and making sure that it's safe in this capitalist hellhole that the game is set. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Also, if you want to check out Neon Black, there'll be a link down below for anyone who's watching this. So I'm gonna go clockwise on my screen, so which doesn't mean anything to anyone here because because you can move you can move the screens, and so I'll just call them out. So Paul, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and what I'm looking for in this cyberpunk game is just some cool cyberpunk sort of theme vibe for that setting. Doesn't get much love, so yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, like I said, always down for the vibe. Up next, Brandon, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brandon. I've played with Gauntlet since about the middle of last year. And I love cyberpunk because of its themes of especially what is human and what isn't. Combined with the extreme divergence in class and the tensions that are set up by having a small privileged class and a huge underclass.
Almost said heck yeah, but like, you know, that's kind of thing we do we kind of have in real life and we'd probably rather not have, but that's what fiction is for, to play in those themes. So looking forward to that. And last but not least, Mario, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, my name is Mario. I also use the he, him pronouns. And I do like the aesthetics of cyberpunk. I'm very much here for that, but I think I'm playing this game because of the class war aspect, because that is something where most cyberpunk games just end before it's actually happening, before something of something class war related actually shows up. It's usually like the solos going in and doing better stuff, like you said. So I'm looking for something different here.
We'll have a section where we can like dial in more on what we want to see. Because for anyone who's watching, this is gonna be kind of like a session 0.5 kind of thing where we build our community and then our characters and figure out what direction we all want to go. But before we do that, I do want to talk about safety, specifically the safety tools that we're using for today, for this series. First up is our lines and veils. For those who don't know, lines are things that won't be crossed, just won't show up in fiction at all. Veils are things that can happen in fiction, but you know, we're not gonna like focus on it. Like, you know, either happens off screen or gets a sentence or two. We're not gonna get into the weeds of it. We have a tab in the character keeper. It's called safety. It's all the way to the left. Yes, there are like a ton of tabs in this character keeper. It's all good. I'm gonna hide the ones we're not gonna use when we get to it. But yeah, have a look through those. There's also a column for ask first, which basically means that, you know, if this gets brought up in the table, it's something that, you know, we kind of like have to like poll the table first. Like, is it okay to do this? And just to call it out if it gets brought up. So have a moment to look through those. And then once you're kind of good with the choices, just say okay in the Zoom chat. Sorry, it's been a while since I've had to fire up the Zoom. Also, it's a living document, so we will check up on this at the start of every session. So if things have changed, we can do it then. There's also some space to add anything that's not on there. So yeah, once you're good, say okay in our Zoom chat. Also, yes, while you're doing this, I'm copy pasting a romance chart from a previous game. I'm gonna fix that. That's more specific. Do you want to have romance with your character? You have character romance. Let me just fix that. Folks good with lines and veils? Um, So the other tool that we're using is script change, which basically what it is, it's a series of kind of like commands that we kind of use to help modulate the fiction, so to speak. You imagine commands on a remote control, that should suit you well. There are three commands I do want to highlight. First is rewind. When you call for rewind, you back up to a specific point in the scene and do the scene over again, avoiding whatever issue led to the rewind and trying a different way. It could be any issue. It could be a name, it could be like the tone of the scene, could be like even the premise of the scene. You don't have to explain what your issue is. I might have to ask some questions on what exactly the issue is, but you don't have to explain why you have an issue with that. But just kind of respect that when a rewind is called, and we will roll back and try something else. There's also fast forward, which if you call for that, you fade to black and advance time is needed to avoid content or elements of play, or just to move forward in time. This is kind of part of the veils thing where like, something might happen where like we need to concentrate on that. We'll just kind of fast forward and move on. And then finally there's pause, which I can call for pause, basically just pause the game if you need a break for a variety of reasons. It could be like, oh, it's an intense scene, let's pause and kind of like take a breath. Maybe you're seeking clarity or discussion about the game or content, like how did we get here, what's happening. You can call for a pause for that. Or if you need to take a break, which is kind of part of the open door policy that we have here, where basically if you need to take a break from the table at any time, and any time is fine, for any reason. It could be an emergency, or maybe you're more tired than you thought. You need to step away from the table. That's perfectly fine. Maybe you need to take a bio break. That's also fine. I can call for a pause at any time with what we're doing. And then we'll just we'll accommodate and make sure that folks are comfortable. Okay, so let me do like a quick kind of like summation or like just of the setting of Neon Black. Just kind of like there's lots of stuff that we can play around with, but the general premise is that this is the year 2199. Climate change has ravaged Earth. The governments and international organizations of the past were too slow to stop the inevitable climate catastrophe. The megacorporations saved us, or so they're fond of saying. These all-encompassing companies operate with no oversight and wield unprecedented power. They use their money and resources to construct the geoengineering projects necessary for the continuity of human civilization. Now, whatever's left of humanity live in these isolated corporate city-states. The largest of these city-states, the one you live in, is called Prime City. Prime City is ruled by the rich, CEOs, oligarchs, celebrities who made it out on top after the world burned. They live in massive skyscrapers high above the clouds. They vacation on Mars and Europa, and they augment their bodies at will. You're not those people. You play as members of one of Prime City's hidden or forgotten communities, where you take on odd jobs to survive, make rent, and help your friends. Maybe you're trying to free your block from corporate contracts, or maybe you're just trying to keep everyone fed and your spaceship flying. Either way, you'll use the tech the wealthy throw from their spires to break into their vaults, hack their networks, and spray your symbol on their corporate logos. Remind people, life doesn't need to be this way. So, if we go back to the safety tab, if you scroll all the way to the right, there are two columns there called the taste menu. Which is kind of works like a like a palette and microscope. Basically, it's kind of like what do we want to see and what do we not want to see. So think of like what cyberpunk tropes or themes do folks want to see. You put it on that column, and what do they not want to see. It's kind of like more specific than lines and veils, so that we can have like a general idea of like we have a more specific idea, I guess, of what we should avoid and what we should hope to highlight. So, and I'm not going to call on each person to like, oh, do this. You can just enter whichever ones you want. And then I will kind of read them out and we'll see if like things butt up against each other or if there's anything else that people want to like clarification on. So have a moment to think through those and then just start putting stuff in. Yeah.
Are there any limitations of what cyberware can be or not? Like, is this already like a bit biopunk-ish, where it's like everything is very fluent, or is it like strict cyberware is something that takes humanity away from you kind of style?
There is like a specific section in this book where it says that like, so let me double check. I mean, there's like this, because I remember there's a specific talk about what does it mean to have cyberware, and it's not the case where like it takes away your humanity, for sure. Like, there's a section here of cyberware. Just scroll through. Yeah, principles. Capitalism sucks. Humanity is broad. There we go. Yeah, cyberware. They're kind of like, you know, they represent physical modifications. They are granted by cybernetic enhancements. They're installed during downtime. Cyberware does not make people any more or less human. Remember, one of the principles of the game is that humanity is broad. Augmentations like these, specifically like mechanically the augmentations like these, are tools that allow them to do things they otherwise could not. Sometimes this is empowering, like when you get surgery to alter your body so it represents how you see yourself. Sometimes this is exploitative, like when a corporation forces you to get cyberware so that you can perform expected tasks. Cyberware can be used for good or evil, but does not diminish the essential humanity of the user. There are factions who want to, like, you know, take it further, who want to go full post-human. There are some people who have, like, you know, probably more tech than flesh. There are like synths in this game as well. Like there's an entire playbook for if you want to be a full artificial being, and there are AI as well. So I think there is no like one way. Like cyberware is not good or evil, and it's a tool, you know. And there is a kind of like when you go get cyberware, which you don't start off with that, but you can get more come downtime. There's like a list of stuff, of enhancements.
Yeah, that's cool. That answers my question perfectly. Thanks.
So far we've got 3 things on the would like to see. Also, if folks have like touchstones, like any specific media they want to kind of like bring up, that's also fine to add in things would like to see. Um, Actually, I'll wait for see maybe there are one or two more entries and not interested in. So I don't want to be like. But again, if you're, if you, I don't want to force people to have to like. All right, no, each of you have to put one in. If you're all fine with what's there, that's all perfectly fine. Okay, so on things we'd like to see, there's like questions regarding what humanity means. Some people doing marginal activities to get by. How do communities transform when gender roles become obsolete? And not interested in is getting rich as an individual, which is grand because I don't even know if money is like a a actually there is like a resource thing here, but it's tied to the community. It's not yours. It's well not essentially yours. You can use it, but it's for the communities. But we'll get to that. Anyone having questions of the stuff in the taste menu? Because I'm down for them. Definitely stuff we can play with. Okay. If folks are okay with those, we'll move on. And but again, if this is like a living document, everything on the safety tab is a living document. So like if you want things to change, if there's another thing you want to add there, feel free to do so. I'll check on it every week just to see if something's changed. I'll call it out at the start of each session. If that's all good, then yeah, we'll move on to community creation. So before we create characters, we gotta create a community first because you're part of this community, and that might change or reflect what kind of characters you folks end up making. So there are 4 communities on tap for Neon Black. Let me double check something because I need to find this space in the PDF. So, here we go. Well, actually, okay. Sorry, I'm sorry. I've got like multiple tabs and I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so first I'm gonna choose a community playbook. So there are 4 of them. They're kind of like the equivalent of crews in Blades of the Dark. And they're all fairly different. So I'll run through them quickly. The first is the 55. The 55 is a massive block of apartments that are seeking freedom from corporate control. So most of the folks in Prime City live in these things called stacks, which are like gigantic apartment blocks. And apartments in each stack range from space barely big enough for a single bed to, bunk houses for corporate workers, maybe occasional bachelor suites, maybe there's room enough for a kitchen, maybe, but that's rare. Stacks are home to thousands of people. Each stack has their own community and culture. During the Prime City corporate war, when all the corporations kind of fought each other, and now there's only 3 mega corporations left, the 55 tried to seize their independence from various corporate contracts, but they failed after 55 days of a prolonged siege. Hence why the name. So the question for the 55 is, will you help it become, independent, one of the first independent stacks in Prime City, or will the community fall to corporate power once more? Next is Chariot, which is a spaceship in orbit around Earth that is in danger of falling apart. So part of the canon in Prime City is that, like, yeah, there is space travel, there is off-world, but only the rich really get to do that. They go off-world. Most of the time, if you are in space, you're working as like a wage slave in either one of their ships or in the space elevator, and Chariot is kind of like one of them. It's a relic of a golden era of space tourism, this Chariot. So while most of the really wealthy families, they vacation on yachts and luxury cruisers, the Chariot limps in high Earth orbit, powered on the fumes of an ancient reactor and held together with fresh welds in the prayer of its inhabitants. Perhaps in an old cruise ship, that's the kind of cheap place to live, or maybe it's a prison used to punish corporate lawbreakers, or maybe it's something more. Will the people of Chariot be able to save their ark among the stars, or will you fall from space in ignominy and fire? There's this, and the third one, the third community is called the City of Nod. There's a desert community outside the boundaries of Prime City. Desert in this case is a specific area outside Prime City where crops are grown, where kind of like the main agricultural stuff of Prime City is done. But the city of Nod isn't really in that spot. City of Nod is outside the limits of Prime City. It's in the sun bleached ruins of the old world. In like it's in like beyond the old world are like forgotten suburbs, evacuated cities, abandoned corporate purchases. The city of Nod is like such a place. It's a small outpost of humanity trying to build together and gather resources. So unlike other communities, city of Nod doesn't really have access to food and clean water. So it's not just corporate interference and greed, but you will be dealing with the post-climate wasteland around you. So this is where the climate change stuff kind of like comes to fore. Will you be able to transform the city of Nod into a vibrant community, or will you die in the desert? Fun stuff. And the last community is Tannhauser Way, which is a packed street on the hottest piece of real estate in Prime City. So below the stacks, which are like the big apartments, they're the streets of Prime City. You know, it's full of food carts, corporate stores, lots of pedestrian and vehicle traffic. Tannhauser Way is there's not much space there. Space at a premium. Every day there are like less apartments and small businesses and more corporate properties, boutiques owned by the rich and famous. Every day there are more tent cities and ad hoc housing as people are kind of priced out of living inside. So maybe Tannhauser Way is under like is in an underpass full of murals and life. Maybe it's like the longest city street stretch in Prime City. Maybe it's just where people end up when there's no other place to fall. Like this is the bottom. Like if you fell down here in the eyes of Prime City's rich, you done goofed. This is like the lowest of the low. This is kind of like the nexus of where Prime City's factions kind of like come across, rub against each other. Will you successfully defend Tannhauser Way against corporate gentrification, or watch as your community is thrown away like trash? So, out of those four, what are like folks most interested in?
I quite like the 55. Sounds a bit sort of Judge Dredd.
Just what I thought, yeah. Gave me the same vibe, yeah.
Brandon, you cool with the 55, or got another idea?
Yeah, although I like with some of the others, I do like some of the questions that revolve around just resources that just aren't there, that the community needs to survive. So if the 55 were kind of crumbling, or on not just trying to become independent, but actually trying to not become uninhabitable. I think that would be the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I mean, part of being independent is like being able to survive on your own. So
right. But I'm saying but looking at the questions there, it's I think it's more interesting if things aren't very stable to start with.
Are folks okay with folding that into like this big apartment stack kind of like community?
I mean, it like for what you are going for, would City of Nod be the better fit? Because for me, that's just equally good. I'm not really keen on the spaceship thing right now, just because I think I would go too much into like more sci-fi versus cyberpunk kind of vibe. But apart from that, I'm good with the other three. So
I like the City of Nod too. I agree that the that the spaceship, while it sounds interesting, does tend to push you in a different direction because it's a spaceship.
How are you feeling, Paul? I mean, I think like we could go with either. Definitely like if we go with the 55, we'll add some more like positions of scarcity because like there are like some of these community contacts and the questions that kind of start off with. They're definitely go into question of like, oh, do we have the infrastructure to be independent, or are things kind of crumbling? Or
Yeah, we could just roll that up into the 55.
Yeah, I like big apartments. I also like the city of Nod. Honestly, I'd be down for any of these. GM,
I mean, I guess my leaning would be towards the city of Nod just because of the scare. I like this. Think the scarcity questions are the most interesting ones.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to be a pill about it.
Okay. I think, man, I know I'm the GM, but I don't want to make a decision.
There are three of us. Logically, we should be able to make a decision.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I should go on one either way. I think let's see. All right, I'm gonna hide Tannhauser away anyways, and something we're gonna go that way. I think just kind of like in terms of, I guess I should say what I'm interested in as well because I'm also playing in here. I think I do lean towards more like the 55 in terms of like at least something more classically cyberpunk. But like if folks are gonna be like, no, let's go City of Nod again. This is all incredibly unhelpful for me saying I'm flexible either way. Sorry, here.
I mean, yeah, I think we couldn't just like when painting the scene for like the 55, we could go with something like, oh yeah, well there has been the first uprising, maybe one of the security guys got kidnapped or whatnot, and therefore it just like shut off like water, and maybe then there's some sort of like I don't know, like food delivery pipe system or drone delivery system or whatnot, and it just shut it off to say like either you let that guy go or like just to show off that they are the big guys, right? Mm-hmm. So that I think if we go with that kind of problem from the start, we could have the city of not wipe in the 55.
Yeah,
I think that'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Yeah, you know, if the 55 has taken a hit to its infrastructure, because, and I agree with Mario that, you know, corporate retaliation makes the most sense. So where they've been thrown back on having to provide basic services to people so that they don't depopulate.
All right, that sounds really
bad.
Because
that's like, what good independence if everybody has moved out?
Cool. All right, that sounds like a consensus. So yeah, we're gonna go with the 55. So I'm gonna go through community creation, which okay. So the 55, a basic block of apartments seeking freedom from corporate control. First, we're going to decide kind of like the location of Prime City. Prime City can be located anywhere in the world. Neon Black assumes that Prime City is controlled by 3 megacorporations who took measures to protect the city from the worst effects of climate change. It also assumes that there is like, you know, a diverse underground movement that opposes corporate control, that there's limited travel around the solar system. But Neon Black does not assume that Prime City is located in a specific place. That's for us to decide. It could be that Prime City evolved from a city in the Pacific Northwest of North America. It could be a city in Japan, or where your play group lives right now, which is hard because we all don't live in the same place. It's probably not right. And we don't have to be like very specific about where it is. We could say it could be next to the ocean, or in the middle of a desert, or near mountains. Um, um, so or it could be, yeah, it could have grown out of an existing city, or it could be, I don't know, in the middle of the dried out Atlantic, or something ridiculous like that. Um, the main thing is just like it's kind of like in a place that needed to be built up so it can be protected from the climate change apocalypse.
I think it'd be cool if it were equatorial, like in Central America, where the space elevator is.
I should say as well, one of the principles of Neon Black's like humanity is broad. So like, even if like, if we're in certain place, lots of people have come in and out. But that's a cool idea. Are folks good with like putting it like on the equator? Okay. That's right. Okay. After that, we choose an inciting incident. So your characters are part of a bigger community. Sometimes the community is thousands of people, sometimes just a few dozen. No matter the number, you've decided to take a stand. You are the people everyone else comes to get something done. You're all actively addressing your community's needs, and the inciting incident describes why that happened. So Mario, when you had that idea, this is exactly what you're describing. So we're a bit ahead. So think of it as kind of like the 8-pot. It's a primary motivation for fulfilling the community's needs. It may tie to each character's starting milestones. So there are 4 types of inciting incidents listed in the community sheet, though you may create your own as well. So there is death. Someone who all the player characters knew and had a relationship with died recently. Maybe they were murdered or died with important work left undone. There's corporate. One of Prime City's corporations is threatening the community or has already done damage. They may be looking to deal, destroy, deceive, or all of the above. If no one does anything, your community will fall, which is kind of what we kind of described earlier. So I'm glad to be ahead on that front. There's exile. You pissed off a corporation or someone powerful and were forced to be relocated here, far from everything you know. This is what a prison and home for everyone around you. If you don't work together, you'll never escape, which is probably not going to jive with how this place wants to be independent, but it could there. Or discovery, you found something new and exciting. It could change everything. It is part of this community. It won't survive without your help. And they're like examples for all these. But since we're already talking about it, it sounds like we have something about a corporation having attacked or made things more precarious in the 55. That's kind of like that's what we talked about earlier, or at least what Mario proposed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was laughing at the second corporate objective.
God. Yeah, it's
that's pretty drastic. This is our target.
Yeah, so I'll look at one of the factions because like there are examples in the PDF, but like let's go with that. Prime City Operations plans to clean out the 55 to make way for better housing. The 55, that's an old stack. It barely survived the corporate war. Best clean it out, or just get rid of it for something newer and cleaner. And that's what Prime City Operations is trying to do. And they've kind of done that. They've sent, they're trying to like take apart the infrastructure of the 55 bit by bit, and y'all got to stop them. How's that for like an inciting incident?
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. Where am I? There's so many tabs. Prime City Operations. Okay, so after that is choose a relationship. All your characters live in the same community, but how do your characters know each other? This can be related to the inciting incident. It could just be tangential but flavorful detail. You all live together as roommates, can never get away from each other, or you're all old friends. There are 3 types. And again, we can flesh this out as much as we want, or we don't have to. They could just be like simple, because once characters are created, we'll also be creating bonds with at least 2 other characters. And since there's only 3 of us here, that's going to be helpful. So there are 3 types. You can be friends, know each other, stay in touch for years, probably know several other NPCs in the community quite as well. And some of these examples are like, you all could be the same punk band. Maybe you're members of the same subculture net space. Maybe you all played role-playing games together. I don't know. There are co-workers, which means you all work at the same company and have become close friends as well as colleagues. Or maybe your family or related by blood or something else. So probably like the most flexible for us is like friends, unless folks have a good pitch. But since, maybe so that, because it does sound like this community is tight, the 55. Anyone who calls themselves a member of the 55, like you can also honestly fold in all this. So it could be important. It could be just like flavorful detail. Folks having like strong feelings on any of these, or should we just like stick to like maybe friends or something, or
friends or previous co-workers?
Yeah, or yeah, the previous co-work is an interesting thing. What if we're all essentially refugees from one of the corps? People who have were involved in corp dealings and have abandoned them.
I will say that like part of character creation is like detailing a job. Although there is like a milestone that says you don't have a job for each character sheet. Which like it doesn't have to be like for a big corp, or at least you have an employer. Maybe it's not one of the big horrible corps, but like maybe you all work together in the same corp and you're just working different jobs now.
Well, no, I was thinking, but I mean the job that we do here in 55 can be, you can be working on, as a plumber. That doesn't mean that you might not have been employed, but in one of the big corps, a more prestigious job, and then decided that it was devouring your soul.
Yeah, I was when you pitched that, I was thinking of like, yeah, we had to like maybe change identities, and therefore we only can have like those shitty jobs, because like if everybody is like checking our ADs, it's not like super solid, because there's just a lot of stuff missing. A lot of entries aren't there that are supposed to be there or something like that. I mean,
bad. If you have a crappy reference history. It's like, your work history starts 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. How comes you're 55, right?
Yeah,
I'd like that. I'd like to actually play a corp refugee.
Mm-hmm.
Looking over the playbooks, I like the idea of a synth who has basically fled a corporation where they were essentially owned, and in the process of are considered a criminal because they stole important technology. That is to say, themselves.
Yeah.
And so others would be people who are sympathetic, who from the same corp, or people who are sympathetic to refugees for some reason.
Yeah, folks good with that kind of like at least that kind of relationship between the characters. Folks good with that? Cool. All right, add that there.
I view you all as basically my protectors or rescuers or something, or at least at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. All All right, so next bit is review the needs of the community. Each community has a list of contacts. Each contact describes the character and a pressing need that the player characters can resolve. All right, so each community kind of starts with 3. Usually we gain more in the campaign, but I think we're probably going to stick with these 3 for this month. So in the 55, there's Ada55, who is the community leader. She wants to start a universal income fund for the 55 to help make sure that like we can try to replace all these all these infrastructure that's breaking down. But she needs you to rob a tier 4 faction for that. For just to put it to frame it correctly, your tier starts at 0, so we're really gonna be punching above your weight. So that's great. There's a bar owner named D. Basically, cops have started to hang out in her bar after the shifts. Basically, just the fuzz is hanging around, and she kind of needs them gone. And then there's V, who is a vending machine. Yeah, they're a vending machine. They kind of need to transfer digital consciousness out of their corporate vending machine body. Kind of seeing as that, like, these vending machines are kind of like, hey, your infrastructure is growing, but if you install more of these vending machines, the corp can provide. V, who is like the consciousness in these vending machines, are like, no, I don't want that. So those are kind of like what's there, and we'll add some more probably, or at least change some of these to reflect what we're trying to do. Yeah, so last bit is like describing the community. So players should also select like a few words describing like the look and general attitude of folks in the community. Like, is it insular or welcoming, brutalist or brightly painted, infamous or well-liked? There's some examples like exposed rebar, friendly, glass, gothic, graffiti, historic. But yeah, it's just like 1 or 2 words. So we don't have to dial in and like add details, but just like, words for like the feeling of the community for the 55.
Exposed rebar, was that one?
Yes.
Yes, it's on the equator, shoddy building or something. So that one sounds good to me.
Hell yeah. Anyone else have any descriptors they want to add to the 55?
I was thinking maybe aggro decks. Sort of the top few layers were at some stage aggro decks, but for growing sort of blocks, own food, that could easily be under threat. Or it's not there anymore, but it was at some stage. That could be why they're installing loads of vending machines instead of us growing our own crops. Now you just get it from a boop button.
Hell yeah. I mean, this all sounds terrible, but hell yeah.
I remember that we were talking about we would like to see some kind of slum sort of thing. What about just some, like, it got overcrowded and some people just tried to attach their like sleeping quarters like to the block itself, so it's like a very unstable type of architecture.
Yeah, it has these makeshift balconies and cantilevered structures sticking out the sides of the stack, where people have tried to make living space by any means possible, even if it's
it's so much.
Yeah, as a movie director, I would love that one. It's like just
Go ahead, Brandon. Anything else you want to add?
I think from the list here, I like the neighborhoods define themselves by murals. Sort of the various sub-places within them. It started out as just scrawling, but it's developed into full bore, works of art that have been done by, not one person or two people, by a dozen people over the, in a particular place over the course of time.
That's really cool. Okay. I think, anyone else have anything they want to add? If not, that kind of like wraps up community creation. Just in time, we're just reached the first hour of the session. Again, if folks have any more ideas, we can add that in. But for now, let's take our first break. Let's come back at 40 past the hour. So we'll take 7 minutes and we'll get into character creation. So we'll see you then. Okay. All right. So now we move on to character creation. So every character in Neon Black is trying to survive in the streets and the net of Prime City. So we'll see who these characters are. So we've completed community creation. Next, we'll choose a playbook. There are 8 basic playbooks. And I'll kind of go through them real quickly. They're fairly straightforward. First up is the doc. They're a gifted chemist and a doctor. Up next is like a fixer, which is a master planner and a hustler. They've got contacts for days. They've got, they're people who know people in Prime City. There's the decker, who is kind of like, an expert with software and the net. They're like your main hacker type. Then there's the operator, who's like a drone pilot and a getaway driver. They're the ones who they handle vehicles. They're good at getting around places and manhandling other vehicles, so to speak. There's the merc, who is a tough and experienced fighter. They're the soldier. They're the ones who know how to throw hands. There's the streamer, who is a charismatic content creator. It's exactly what it says in the tin. You're a celebrity. You're an artist. That's what you do for a living, hopefully. And then there's a synth, who's a radically augmented person who is also, could be artificial, could be more tech than man, but it's more than likely artificial. So those are kind of like the 4 playbooks. And also there's one more. There's the tech, who is like a hardware designer and troubleshooter. They deal with hardware, cyberware and whatnot. Those are kind of like just a starting, those are the starting playbooks, and they each come with their own milestones and where their action dots are. But that does not mean that, say, a merc cannot hack because of the way Forge in the Dark stuff, and specifically this Forge in the Dark game kind of works. You always almost be able to roll dice, whatever action you're gonna do with. Sometimes even beneficial, because in this one, if you roll an action, you have 0 ratings in, you actually get XP, which is, invite chaos into your life, get XP. Cool. So is there any, so what playbooks are speaking out to folks? I know, Brandon, you've already shouted out for the synth. I don't think it says you can't double up on playbooks, but we've got 8, so we've got a spread. So what about Paul or Mario? What are you looking at?
I'd like to go with a sort of maybe a more relaxed and quieter character. So maybe something like dog or tech.
Cool. And yourself, Paul?
Yeah, I'll also think in doc and or tech. So Mario, you pick and I'll take the other.
So yeah, what do you have like a character concept in mind or something?
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I need to read through the milestones of the tech again real quick. Okay. Yeah, I think overall the tech is a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I'll take the dock then.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so
from my character's point of view, you're both incredibly interesting because I probably need both of you to stay alive.
Start hiding these tabs.
And I think more of a support group. Sorry?
If you find that interesting.
Absolutely. And I think it works. Like usually I'm trying to balance like the group a bit more, but I think we have like a pretty straightforward problem and a more like support kind of character group might work really well here. So
all right. Also, yeah, there's a creation tab I put in there, kind of like the summary of character creation. The next bit after you choose a playbook is you choose a milestone. Milestones are, they are like special abilities or whatnot. The main thing with this game is like, unlike in other Forged to Dark games where you fill an XP bar and you pick a special ability, there are like milestones. You only get them when you fulfill certain criteria. So there's like different criteria for each, but you do get to start with one. So like have a look through those. So once you picked your milestone, you then have to choose an employer. So your employer is who you're working for when we begin the game. Your employer can be any of the factions in Prime City. No, it doesn't. And like we said, like there are a lot of like factions in there, but like, you don't have to work for the big corps. There's like a bunch of like smaller one-tier factions that you could be working for. There are like underground factions you could be working for. Like, there's a group called the Guillotines. They seem lovely folk. Or you can choose the milestone I quit, which means you don't have a job or an employer at the moment. It means you have one extra downtime action because you've got free time, but it does mean that you do not mark a resource in the community sheet. I want to have a nosy over. I should explain some of the factions. So there are like 4 types of factions. 3 of them are megacorporations who have a bunch of smaller corporations underneath them. And then there are the underground factions, which are, they ain't legal, for sure. And you have questions about these factions, feel free to ask. But for every person who, marks that they have an employer, we mark 1+1 status with that faction, and we get to put 1 resource on the community sheet. Resources are kind of like the way to go up in tier, or you can spend resources to get more downtime actions. They work like coin, basically, in like or cred in like other Blades in the Dark games, except that you don't keep resources for yourself. It all goes back to the community. So if you want to use those resources, you're kind of like using up community resources.
But this could possibly be a rather positive relation between the employer and I, because I've seen the Pawners Guild, a union of independent store owners, which would fit perfectly.
Yeah, it could be underground. No, for sure. Like, employer just basically means someone's paying you to work for them. Once you've chosen an employer and a job, the next bit is to assign 4 action dots. No action may begin with a rating higher than 2. You're going to need to get cyberware for that. Or at least more cyberware. She's doing that thing where it's screen tearing on me. It's not great. Once you've signed 4 action ratings, next bit I should explain about playbook items. Playbook items. Oh, sorry.
Okay. I just need a sec. I got caught up in looks and stuff.
No worries. We'll take your time.
So cyberware are things that let you go beyond 2.
Yeah.
In an attribute, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let me describe playbook items because you do start with one of them. So you can utilize these specific items better than others, but you don't have the money connections to acquire all of them when the game begins. So select one of the playbook items that you have access to on your character sheet by checking the available box beside it. That's the orange box. Ooh, orange box. And basically, they're ones that you'll always have out of that list anyway. Those standard items you'll always have access to during a score. With the playbook items, the only one you'll have access to is the one you mark with the orange box, and you'll get one of those at the start. And you can get more through downtime actions, through scores, or when your community advances into your. So thankful for this sheet because it just tells you everything. Like, what did this mean? Oh my god, I can't believe the tech has a hard light saw. As in, like, saw made of light. That's ridiculous. Dice roller, because I forgot you have to roll as part of character creation. Oh my god! When you click on
Leandro, it's the same as Blades in the Dark, that you count the things going downwards in clout, intellect, and prowess for downtime activities, and it's the lowest one.
Sorry, can you say that again? I think my internet broke up.
Yeah. In Blades, you count out the number of sort of things you've got going downwards. So for clout, intellect, and prowess, and for some downtime activities, normally for removing heat, you take the lowest of those, don't you, for your number of dice?
Oh, that's for in Blades. That's for when you whatchamacallit, relieve stress. That's for
is there a similar mechanic in this? Because normally putting no boxes in a section is really bad in Blades.
Yeah, that I think that's still. I think you'd still go with that because that's still how you resist consequences. Is you roll the number of dice that are that are in that column. So say you the doc have to
so I'll put two in every column.
Yeah, that's
in every section.
Yeah,
but I've noticed, I mean, I've got quite a bit of history of Blades, so I sort of know a bit of the mechanical side of things. But I noticed both the other players have got sections missing, which mechanically has quite a bad effect to play.
Yeah, I just did what the character creation sheet said, what would make me a local workshop kind of guy. So
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying if you don't know the mechanical side of the game, it could have an effect later.
Yeah.
I should say as well, because I'm looking at your sheet, Mario, that no action rating can go above 2 in character creation. So notice you've got a third dot there.
Oh, yeah. I just followed
oh, yeah, that's the
sheet.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, sorry, that's the condensed character summary. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, no action may begin with a rating higher than 2.
Yeah, then I go with connect, and then then I've got something in all 3, so I don't have to take the lowest die there. Yeah.
But the funny thing is that like this game actually incentivizes making like a it has to be an action roll. There is like an incentive for rolling actions that you don't have dots in. So say if you have to roll again, sorry, Paul, to use you as a guinea pig. If you have to roll command, and even though you have no dots, you actually get XP for it in this game. So if because usually when you roll no action dots, you roll 2d6 and take the lowest. But you know.
Yeah.
But
so it's still 2d6 and take the lowest.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Where are we? Playbook items. Oh man, it makes the. Sorry, I'm just looking at the sheet magic here. It's probably very standard sheet magic. You press a button and it turns orange. That seems neat, but I'm entranced by it. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of the. I just noticed one of the standard items is a custom soundtrack. It's just ridiculous. Cool. Okay. So yeah. Once you pick your starting playbook item, next you roll for luck. So this is the one thing that's different from blades. Normally in blades you have stress, which you use to like which you spend to get benefits when rolling. Here it's called luck, and you start out with a certain number. Don't worry, you get more when you do engagement rolls and whatnot. But when your luck runs out, when you use it all up, you suffer calamity, which is kind of like this game's version of get inflicted with trauma. But and you usually get luck as you play on. So like if you get a crit, everyone gets like 1 luck, that sort of thing. We'll get into it more once you start rolling. But I've put a link to the dice roller. But if you have dice yourself, feel free to do so. But each of you will roll 3d6 and record the highest result by filling in that many boxes on the luck track of your character sheet. So yeah, I'll let you all do that. Whereas the fun thing is that like you start the game with a luck equal to that number, but when your luck runs out, you get a calamity, and then you just refill your luck track to full. So even if you start with 3 luck, there's an incentive to running out because then you'll get it all back anyway. But you will suffer a calamity, and there are like 4 types of calamities, which is captured, says what it is, exposed, wrong person knows you at the wrong time, out of action, you're unconscious or responsive, or a plot twist, which is delightful. Okay. So yeah, don't worry if you have like low luck, it'll be fine. And you get more in an engagement roll anyway. That gets you some extra luck. Okay, so after that, it's just recording your name, handle, and look, which I think everyone else has done. And I'll give you all like maybe like 5 more minutes. So like if there's anything else you need to like freshen up, add more looks, descriptions, then we'll introduce these characters. So give you all a bit of time to finish up. Folks, good to go. Like introducing characters. Okay, so let's go left to right on the character keeper. So, Paul, why don't you tell us about our doc?
Hello, I'm Paul, and the character I'm playing is Johnny November, he, him, and Johnny November is the community's medic come doctor. He still has a job. He works for Prime Health Insurance, a quite small megacorp sort of entity who looks after the city's healthcare. And he's sort of fallen from grace, and now he's in the 55, providing a service there. And he's a bit of a local legend within the 55 because he cured a virulent outbreak of necrotizing fasciitis, which was doing the rounds in the block. So he's quite well known in the block for that.
Oh, can I ask, is fasciitis like an actual like disease?
Yeah,
it's a real horrible disease.
Okay.
It's a flesh-eating disease.
Oh God, that's kind of horrifying.
It's quite common.
Oh, okay. Oh, good on Johnny. Cool. Let's see. I have any more questions for him. No, I think it was very straightforward. I like him. I was gonna ask, yeah, what was like what caused the level of notoriety, but yeah. So like this is only within the community. Like if you take him out of the 55, he's just probably like another medic, right?
Yeah. So within the community, he's a local legend, but nothing further. And I think basically he provided the cure for free, and that's probably why he's in the 55. He went in there and he cured the people for free. And clearly, Prime Health Insurance, that was a big money spinner for them, or it could have been. So he denied them some corporate creds, basically.
So why do you think they like kept you on? Is it because they kind of know your worth, or like
they couldn't quite pin it on me. They sort of know, but it wasn't enough to get me fired.
But enough to be like, we're gonna bust you down to the 55, or like just make sure.
Yeah, I think that was So they bust me down, and basically the 55 I've stayed. That's where they've left me, basically.
Gosh, how do you feel about that? Was it worth it? Providing the cure?
Yeah. I think when this is set, the Hippocratic Oath probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but for Johnny November, it still means something to him, and if that means treating people for free, so be it.
Hell yeah. I'm rooting for him. He seems like a cool dude. Cool. All right, let's move to our synth. So Brandon, tell us all about them.
Mercy, originally MRC7, from which her name comes, appears to be a tall, red-headed woman, but there's not a lot of there's negligible amounts of bio in there. She was originally a soldier design that got modified for courier work, taking packages and information from one point to another in difficult circumstances. She fled in the middle of a job, and found somebody in 55 to hide her and give her a new identity. She has been working one sort of low status job or another since then. I think she's a table server or bartender at Jacko's Bar, which is a kind of a working man's, very, very rough and tumble establishment. She, her motivations for, she's actively, she has an active bounty on her from the corporation because she's stolen technology. She's also carrying a couple of data chips that she doesn't know what's on them. They're heavily encrypted, and she's the couple people who have looked at them haven't been able to crack them, and she's been afraid to try and find anybody who really knows what they're doing because they'd turn her in if they recognize what these things were. They're probably valuable data. And so she's, at the beginning, she was just trying to get by, and then, but later on, she's realized how miserable so many of the people here are, what marginal existences they have, and especially she sees them where, many of them, the only thing that keeps them going is the fact that they get drunk, that they drink, that they, or stem or, narc themselves into oblivion so that they can stand to exist and then pick themselves back up and go back to work the next day. And she's decided that that's not right. And so she's made contact with other people who feel the same way. It's quite likely that one of the other player characters is or both of them had a role in hiding her, especially because she needs a fair amount of maintenance. Which of course, none of which can be on the books. She is extraordinarily capable physically, but of course hasn't used that really yet in her existence in 55.
Cool. Do you mind if I pin down which faction? Do you know who created you? Like like Mercy would know who created them, right?
She does, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't have the list of factions handy.
Yeah. I'm just gonna decide one of them because, if that's okay, because there is one that's
somebody who engages in who does military hardware.
Oh yeah, there is one specifically for that. They're a group called Temple Hardware. They are the biggest hardware manufacturer and developer in Prime City. Bleeding edge tech, military grade weapons and armor. Their corporate slogan is to be different.
Yeah, Mercy's probably a one-off.
Yeah.
In other words, that they took somebody took a standard military chassis and put in a lot of unusual software. So she's an experimental unit, that hence her numerical designation. She's the 7th. The first 6 didn't do very well.
Cool. I think you kind of answered most of what I had to ask about Mercy. I'm also rooting for her. I'm trying to be a poor GM. I didn't root for any one of these people. And I don't think, Mario, you're going to change my expectations.
We'll see about that. So I'm gonna play Andre Eclipse, which is just the name somebody gave him. He's also known by the name Iguana. And that is a fun name because he was an engineer of one of the more secretive subdivisions of a real big technology corporation. And when a project has gone wrong and like some reporters got wind of what illegal weapon they have created, the corp just cut ties to all of those subdivisions, and he was on his own. And with the knowledge he had with engineering this thing, it was clear that all the other corporations were just after him and all the other engineers. And he had this contact from old days that got him out of there and gave him a new identity. So I think how this works is that quite a few of us have some sort of similar story, and we just ended up at the 55 and we didn't knew about the 55 beforehand. It's just like some rooms and some persons, you just know when they are new, and you know just how they try to adapt and the way they interact with other people, or more likely not interact with other people. It's clear when they come from a corporation. So it's clear they don't have a proper name, so that's how you get the handle. Just some kids who live nearby give you that name. And the Iguana name came because he's heavily like he got massive cyberware all over his body. The thing is, it's really old cyberware by now because he's been living for like 40 years or something in the 55. And it's hard to get those like super fancy parts. So his cyberware is just like sort of falling apart, and he needs to replace it with other bits. And by now it looks like he got like scales or something, because then there's like highly polished parts, and then there's a bit synth in between. And as the cyberware is quite old, he's not gaining any benefits from it. It's just like the appearance, and he can't remove it because there's no money for him to get like synth skin or something like that to make him look less cyber heavy, I'd say. Yeah, so he's running the workshop. I think that's important as well. And he got like this weird business model where he's just like trading for favors. So he knows that, well, basically his life is over, and he's just waiting for the end and just trying to survive until his body's giving up. So he's not really involved in much, and he's usually telling people, yeah, get this and that part, and then I'll fix it, and you owe me one. And if he desperately needs to get part, he just calls in favors from like mostly street thugs, or what, like people that come to him for like some quick repairs of all sorts of things. So he's sort of respected, but people are also quite suspicious, because what's he supposed to do with all the favors? Is he trying to make a new gang, or like is he, yeah, when will he be calling in all those favors people owe him? So that is something where he's like, there's a lot of gray area to him, and I think that's as far as I imagined him.
I don't know what to say. He seems cool. I'm intrigued by where he used to be. Is anyone looking for him? Like, is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
His name, yeah.
But he's been here for like 30 or 40 years. So chances that he's like a high profile anymore aren't that high, right?
Yeah, they would have found him if he was like anyone really important.
Yeah.
So I have another who slipped through the cracks. Yeah. So I'm just looking at stuff up here. So just to like reconfirm some stuff because like my mind was fading a bit. He's been here for quite some time. The community has kind of like only sort of accepted him because he has this weird economic model for how he runs his workshop. I got that right?
Yeah, so they are dependent of him because there's a lot of low income people and families, and he has some friends, I guess, he really cares about, and he has like sort of a family he chose in his new life, and people he's willing to share stuff with it. But from a more outsider perspective, or for most people in the block, he's like that strange dude that does stuff without payment and just ask for favors. And some people are unhappy with how with the favors he called in, and they feel like the stuff he got for what he did is like way more valuable, so they feel sort of robbed or something. But not all. So there is a lot of misunderstandings around him. But he's still a pillar of the community because he does the stuff like sort of for free, at least without money. And that's important for the 55.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, cool. All right. I'm very much fond of these characters. Before we go into break, we'll do one more thing. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break first, and then we'll do the last thing, which is creating bonds. Let's come back at the half hour mark, so like 6 minutes. That's okay with folks. And then we'll create bonds, and then we'll kind of like set up the opening score. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, cool. So the very, 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 very last thing we need to do with character creation is to create 2 bonds. So each character starts with 2 bonds. These are like strong beliefs or important relationships that the characters have with other people in Prime City. They describe how the characters feel about each other and members of the community. And they also, this is an important thing as well, they also determine who can use the assist teamwork action. So if you don't have a bond with a PC, with a specific PC character, you can't assist them. Which is to say, you can absolutely choose to create a bond with an NPC or another PC, or another community contact or someone here in the community. But like, if you don't have a bond with a PC, you can't assist them. Bonds are one of the ways you can use to like get XP. Basically, if your relationship with them kind of like changes from the initial bond at the end of a session, you get XP. You can get more bonds by let me double check. You can get one more bond when you advance. So when you fill up your XP track, and unlike Blades, there's only one XP track. There's only one XP track. There's not 4. There's not as much to micromanage. So, and again, these bonds are like beliefs your character has of the other, of another character. And you know, a good bond should mention the character's name and maybe have like a concrete, actionable statement about who they are or what you want from them. Don't worry if your bonds seem ill-fitting or uncertain at the beginning of the game. Bonds change at the end of every session, and again, you get one more when you advance. Some examples are like, Blank has proven to be reliable in the past. I would trust them with my life. I knew Blank through the net long before I met them. I'm a huge fan of Blank's work. You can create another NPC as a focus for a bond during that character creation for sure. Or you can have a bond with one of the community contacts. Or with each other. The main thing is like you start with 2. So have a moment to think about that. And then, oops. Let me just format that so you can see. And also feel free to ask like questions or like throw out any suggestions.
So what bonds are people thinking of?
I've gone with I saved your life, Rose, and the other one, Iguana and I have got big plans. We'll quit our jobs someday when the time is right.
Punks like us, baby, we're born to run.
Yeah, I think I've got equally big kind of bonds because they are like rather long-term projects. So I thought I was left here to rot, but Johnny is giving me purpose, I think. And I still had Merc in there. I need to change that to Rose.
Yeah.
Oh, why can't I change that? Yeah, anyway, Rose is a piece of art. Maybe I would make her my masterpiece if I had the resources.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's true. I'm going to put I am learning how to be a person from Johnny. And I feel that Iguana, I feel pity for Iguana. He is just the, for all his talent, he's one of the people left behind.
Are those bonds good for folks? They all sound terribly juicy. Something you can work with. Again, you can change bonds at the end of a session if like things have changed. Okay, so with that done, I think we're ready to start play. Oh my god, we've got time to at least set something up. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I was kind of like to just get a flavor of what folks are like, in the day to day, as kind of like we get like a faraway shot of Prime City, this ridiculous collection of skyscrapers, all clutched up, all huddled together under this baking, boiling sun. As we kind of like zoom through, or maybe like we zoom down from like the space elevator, and kind of like see all these like skyscrapers, and we kind of bend around so we can see their height as they pierce through the clouds. The camera is gonna go through the crevices, the canyons of Prime City, so to speak, its urban canyons, and find this particular stack. It's old, wearied, kind of. It's a storied kind of like stack. This apartment building pockmarked by all sorts of refuse, all sorts of scars, and it goes into this place, the 55. I think maybe we get like even like a shot of like this graffiti of the number 55 that's being scrubbed away by these drones. They're kind of like shooting this like jet hot, white hot, jet of water scrubbing away the graffiti, and then the camera turns away from that and zooms into the 55 in kind of like this like I guess cinematic opening shot. What would the camera find like each character is kind of like doing as they kind of like go about their day to day? Just like a quick opening shot. Just get a flavor of them. So have a minute to think about that. And if you've got an idea, feel free to like just jump in.
I think you see Johnny, walking the decks, dishing out medicines to people, and you also see him helping people that probably haven't got private healthcare. Dishing them a little bit on the side, from whatever he can sort of cream off the corporate pie sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's where we see Johnny sort of, helping out the needy of the 55.
Yeah, I think for Andre or Iguana, we'll see him like no expression whatsoever on his face, and we see a child peeking around the corner, looking at him, clearly nervous, but after a while the child is brave enough to approach him, and is asking Andre for repairing his RoboDoc, which is clearly like at least like 7 or 8 versions old. So it's not actually made to be that old and still like working. So yeah, Andre simply nods, doesn't really say anything, turns, shuts the door. Like 2 minutes later, he's coming out, and there is like just a pinkish colored leg on this otherwise zebra pattern dog. So it doesn't really fit, but does work. And he's not, and Andre just looks, yeah, whatever, just another piece. And then he's standing in the door, just looking up and down the corridor and just waiting if somebody else needs something.
Hell yeah.
Rose knocks on the door of knocks on a nondescript door in a relatively filthy area of 55. And they open it to her, and she steps inside, and inside the vestibule there, she reaches inside her clothing, and she says, I found a water filter for you. And she gives them the cylinder, which is, because theirs has been malfunctioning for months, and the children have gotten sick as a result. And she also says, and a gift for the little one, and she produces a small orange, which is not something that anybody sees. It's something that you see on videos. And then she kind of brushes off their thanks and then goes.
Fab. Well, fab in from a narrative perspective. Okay, so I think the starting score, how each of you kind of like is contacted is, I think, a bunch of kids kind of like find you. There's like a different kid for each, and they each kind of like give you a receipt from, and you can tell there's a receipt from a Mellow Mart vending machine. But instead of the usual kind of like, all right, you bought this Coke or this food kind of receipt, instead each of them is like a message. Please meet at 49th floor near actually no, second floor. Please meet at second floor lobby. I have request to make. Hope you're doing well. Bunch of Metal Mart slogans, and then it's just signed V. All three of you kind of know that the vending machines in the 55 are, they're controlled by what's called a haunt. A haunt is stands for a human amalgamate united into neurotelepresence, as in a person that has completely digitized their consciousness into the net. The person kind of like in control of the vending machines here is controlled by a haunt named V, who usually keeps to themselves. They usually just kind of like, just say, they spout out the usual slogans. But I think folks kind of know that, there's a person controlling these vending machines. So they're gonna call the three of you to meet at the very first vending machine that was kind of like installed here. I think after some of the infrastructure was kind of like knocked out of the 55, these vending machines kind of start popping up. So there's kind of questions of like, all right, who's been kind of like accepting contracts to get these things installed here? This is just like more encroachment from like the corp. And I think like this vending machine is kind of like, I think the art of vending machines, it probably has changed much. I think instead of a rectangle, this is like a tube. It's cylindrical, but like it's a complete LED screen, and at the bottom there's kind of like the tray for like when the thing comes out. And it's kind of like not sure if Metal Mart creates these vending machines to like, have matter transporters in them, or they just contain stuff and they just fill up with stuff through like, the tubing system. But like it takes a while to install this here. And there's like a lot of questions as to who let them install this. But I think like the complete LED screen, they kind of like shimmers, and you see, let me just double check because I'm working off some stuff here. You see the Mellow Mart mascot, whose name you might guess is mellow. Oh yeah, is mellow. And I think um Mellow is like advertised as the ultimate relatable mascot because they change shapes and figures as to whoever is here watching them in the vending machine. Three people, it's kind of messy. So it's I think for a moment you can tell the mascot kind of like tries to like come together into like a amalgam shape and kind of just gives up and goes for the default shape, which is a squirrel. Um, and I think it starts spouting off, the Mellow Mart slogans like "Hello, Mellow Mart, with everything you need and everything you could ever need." Ha, 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 hello, hello, uh, Johnny Iguana Rose, Rose, Rose. Hello.
Yo, V, how's it going?
It's it's going. Mellow Mart profits are up by 2.5% in the last quarter. You, you don't need to care about that, but I have to. It's a question of margins in Mellow Mart.
We received your note.
Yes, you're all here. You're all looking well. I hope you all are doing well. I truly do. I need some help. I I signed a contract with MeadowMart to help with the digitization because the being in the net seemed better for myself. I don't presume that for everyone, but I felt it was better for myself. And MeadowMart would ask that I signed a contract with them to help with digitization. The contract stipulated I would stay in this machine until at least their quarterly figures go up in the next quarter by 3.0%. And in the last figures, it went up by 2.988545%. And they said because it did not reach 3.0%, they are extending my contract and they are keeping me here and it's not great.
That sucks, V. Sounds like you've been done over by the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
No. So they're forcing you to remain locked in these machines.
It's all I can see many things in this machine, but all they are inventories and quarterly earnings and slogans and the cheapest of foods, the cheapest of prices, everything cheap, everything for the people. Mellow Mart has everything you need.
Well, and I think I've just got what you need. So if I'm seeing this right, you should cut down the maintenance because usually that's always super expensive and always will lower your ratings. So you know how it goes around here. If I do the maintenance for you, you wouldn't have the other contractors do it and you would have to pay them. But then you would owe me one.
I would go one further. I would all three of you just, and I think like the Metal Mart looks around and kind of like you can see the graphic is tortuously trying to figure out how to make the come closer gesture. I would like to ask for the three of you to help in breaking the contract because the contract sucks.
So how much are the maintenance costs?
If you break the contract, vending machines here in the 55, there would be no one controlling them for now. Maintenance costs go down because these machines don't need to be maintained because there's nothing controlling them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Sounds good.
Breaking the contract is not simple.
No, it is not, but you will have a friend in the net, and I will be free of this machine and be able to help. I do not want to hurt the 55. And I will owe the three of you. And I will repay those debts because you will do me what's called a solid.
Good joke.
Ah, yes, because I'm not solid. Understandable. And yeah, so this is your score. Help free break from their contract. I think we'll kind of extrapolate bits of this, but like, I guess my plan for the rest of the session is we'll do kind of like the gather info stuff and we'll cliffhanger on the engagement roll. So we'll know what we're coming into next week. So the basics of what you know about these contracts. Yeah. So there is the contract, which is kind of like stored in like a Mellow Mart kind of like subsidiary that's kind of like, it's just right outside the 55, you know. Mellow Mart is the biggest shopping mall conglomerate in Prime City. They have these vending machines everywhere. And I think you can kind of know that like these vending machines, they lead into places and there's like a Mellow Mart subsidiary nearby. There's also the local it's called Intrusion Countermeasure Electronics, or ICE, that is kind of like locking V in. That's contained in, like, you don't know where that is. You just know that there's like software making sure that V is, you know, trapped here. But there's also the local Melomart subsidiary. Here's a point where, like, if folks want, you know, they can go gather info, try to answer some questions, look around, see if they know anything. This is kind of like, what do you do to kind of like prepare for this score? Gathering info kind of like helps us in, like, you know, it helps paint a better picture of what you're trying to, of like what objectives you're trying to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to hit up a friend in Prime Health Insurance, and somebody that probably works in IT, and say, you know, any idea where the sort of main central ICE server is for a few of the other corps, specifically Mellow Mart?
Yeah. So this sounds like this is gather info, so there's no risk. It's just fortune rolls. This sounds like a connect. Do you have a name for this friend of yours?
Yeah, I think this is Arthur Blake.
I will make an NPC tab in between this week
Sure.
and now, but I'll note this down. Yeah. Is this like a face-to-face, or do you just like contact them through like email or whatnot?
No, I think this is an old-fashioned phone call, sort of an intercompany phone system. So you can see me looking him up on my smartphone, you know, going through my contacts or IT department, and then sort of, oh yeah, there he is, Arthur Blake. Speaking to him on the phone, you know, saying, you know, you've helped me out in the past, Arthur. You know, when I've had IT problems, you know, and I do remember that time, you know, you had a sick kid, you know, and I know how even internally Prime Health funds its employees. You know, I helped you out, so a bit of sort of assistance here. Do you know anything about sort of ICE, especially Mellow Metro's ICE, or Mellow Mart's ICE?
Yeah. So yeah, let's roll. Yeah, this sounds like Connect, which is like this version's game's version of Consort. You're connecting with allies, with connections, and like I said, they there's no risk to this, so this is just a straight up roll. You will get info. It's just the roll will determine how good the info is. Um, so yeah, that's 1d6.
So 1d6 because I've got 1 in Connect, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
5.
5. All right. So let me double check. So 5, you get good details. Clarifying and follow-up questions are possible. I think you do hear kind of like um a small click, and it sounds like the call dropped, and they call back in and say, "Okay, guys. Okay, it's safe to talk now. Don't worry, I'm not recording this. This is just encryption. You know, we're talking about ICE here, about stuff that shouldn't be out in the open, but you know, we live in a society, so everything's out in the open if you know where to look for it."
Sure, Arthur, what you got for me?
Yeah. So, Mellow Mart Ice. It's funny how a conglomerate that's just about selling stuff, they really keep their shit locked down. Um, but if you're looking for anything specific, the way they kind of do these is that is there anything particular you're looking to hit, Johnny? Just just to be clear, like, do you want the general, um, where Melomart controls all their eyes? Because they're a big fucking company, Johnny.
Yeah, I'd have thought they'd sort of had a bit of a centralized IT section. So I was looking at, really where, maybe not where the ICE servers are located, but where they're controlled from, where their sort of IT department is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you can hear like typing in the in the uh, in the background. Uh-huh. Well, well, you're in luck. They are quite centralized, and I've been telling they should follow Prime's model of like decentralizing it, so it won't be that subject to attack. But no, no, they are quite centralized. I think I know a friend there who works. They are. Oh, interesting. They're actually, funnily enough, I'm looking at some folks like insert LinkedIn analog here, and seems like they're in the process of moving their facility. Um, so it's all kind of in flux. So there are actually two facilities at the moment because they're in the middle of moving things. So it's all quite precarious at the moment. There's one near their big shopping mall, the Meadow Mega Mart, or the Triple M, um, as you know. Um, but they are transferring the facility to, oh, it's quite close to yourselves, actually. Um, in fact, interesting. It's a warehouse nearby to yourselves, from what I can tell from this address. Um, so you kind of have a choice here, Johnny. Not to say that you're planning anything. Obviously, of course, you're not planning anything. This is just idle chit chat, right?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. All right. So you kind of have a choice. Yeah, you've got the Triple M, which is where everything Mellow Mart is kind of like centralized. Or you've got this like warehouse facility they're building.
Yeah, give us some details on the warehouse.
Yeah. I think like they send over like details, and like it's actually a former kind of like warehouse department store, one of those places where you can just buy rice in bulk, where it's not like a fancy supermarket. It's just like, oh, it's a warehouse, and you can go around with a pallet and just load up on stuff. But it used to be like it used to be like a mom and pop kind of like warehouse business. It's a wholesaler. Or like a wholesale business. They work with folks in the desert community to bring stuff in. But it's been recently bought out by Mellow Mart, of course. And yeah, it's and I think like you can tell that like they're still kind of like running bits of the warehouse business just under a Mellow Mart brand, but it's kind of clear that it's a temporary sort of thing. They're converting it into something else. But for the moment, it's still kind of like open to the public as a warehouse department store.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
No worries.
It's real handy, Arthur. Thank you. Hope your kid gets well.
Yeah. You don't mind doing a checkup?
Sure. I'll spin round.
Yeah, it's just happens once. You kind of get worried, and I know you've got a lot on your plate.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, don't bring him down to 55, but yeah, I'll spin round some stage.
You're the best.
No problem, Arthur.
Cool. So that's what Johnny's up to. What about Iguana or Rose? What are they up to?
I'd like to go take a look at their ice server facility.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. So this is just like you're wandering into the warehouse.
Well, I'm not wandering into it. I'm going to stealth in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. I'm just looking at something because if there's risk, this is probably gonna be an action roll. What are you trying to find out?
Well, I'm trying to locate the server banks that are likely to have it, or information to do some social engineering with, to find a person who, a low-level employee who has access to it, or something like that, or a hole in their physical security.
Okay, so yeah, this is definitely an action roll. There's some risk to this. I know it's gather info, but still quite risky to just sneak in. So let's go through how an action roll works. Where is that? Oh, these are the basics. Yeah, so you've got your goal, which is to sneak in and find some holes, whether it's like social engineering or find the data banks. What action rating are you gonna roll with this?
I'm going to roll sneak.
Sneak. Okay. Okay. This is definitely risky, and I think. Let's see. Let me look at Metal Mart. Ooh, they're kind of big. Yeah, this is definitely risky. they're way above the 55 in terms of a tier. I'd say we'll keep it standard for now. So you'll get good info if you get this right. So here you can add some bonus dice. You can push your luck, which is say spend 2 luck, or you can sell out, which is it's this game's version of a devil's bargain. I'll give you a consequence, and you can get an extra die. You can only do one or the other, or you can get assistance from someone you have a bond with, or who has a bond with you.
I've got a lot of luck, so I think I can assist here, if you want that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's 1 luck for assistance. How is Iguana assisting?
I mean, Iguana is the guy in the background, right? So I think I'm just like we're in contact over our smartphones, and I'm like monitoring the Wi-Fi around, just to make sure that there's like no IDs logging in that are like connected to security or something like that, and just like help help Johnny navigate. No, help Rose navigate the premise and avoid anything that could get her into trouble.
Yeah. Rose is basically going to try to get a look through the, traverse the ventilation system or whatever is appropriate.
Okay. So roll 3 dice. You're not going to push yourself or sell out?
No, that's good enough.
Okay. What'd you get? So you take the highest, or?
Okay. And I have 6, 6, and 2.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, I forgot. Whenever I run a fortune die game, everyone just rolls 6s. It just keeps happening. So on a crit, let's see. On a crit, you do it with increased effect, and all PCs gain 1 luck. So that includes you, Johnny. You just get 1 luck. So and I guess Iguana, you get that luck back. Yeah. So Rose, you're quite. It's actually embarrassing. It's a bit embarrassing how easily you can slip in, and I think you can see why, because there's so much kind of like work going in the back end. Like if you just sneak to the back of the warehouse where out past the department store stuff, you can see like a lot. It has the feel of like a startup company who just like found premises. So there's a lot of like stacked like computer decks. There's like a lot of folks wandering around looking very harried. I think you'll find that they've only just basically installed the servers, which are down at the basement of the warehouse. It's actually like they're still in the process of clearing out like all the other stuff, like where they keep all the non-perishable canned goods that's sold in this warehouse, all the agricultural stock that's kind of like they carry in from the desert. And right next to it is a room full of data banks. And I think like you don't get into the room itself because it's kind of like sealed, but you can kind of like see through like the window, because you don't have the credentials at the moment, but you can see through like this like sealed door. They're like the data banks. I think you also find that like there's like one very harried, very sweaty project manager who's kind of just yelling at people to get stuff moving, and yelling at like why the trucks aren't here to install this. We need big plasma screen TVs over here so that we can watch over the facility. We need security cameras installed. Why the fuck aren't there any security cameras installed in this fucking department store? What? All right, you get me coffee. You get me green tea. You get me a bowl of ramen. You just stand there and fan me right now. And I think like there's so much chaos. I should give this project manager a name. Their name is I'll give them a name later. My mind's blanking for a moment, but like but yeah, I think she's frazzled. Her hair is so big because of how sweaty and worked up she is right now. It's almost like she's creating humid atmosphere in this place. And I think like because you got like great effect, some more details, like the way the servers are kind of like set up, and because of the way they're kind of being moved from the triple M to here, that like you don't even need to like completely destroy it to let V free. You just need to like knock it out for like a moment, and V can just like slip away. And you also notice there's like various vectors to doing that. You can knock out the electronics here. You can go to the server banks itself. You can schmooze your way in because you managed to get through by yourself in this info gathering escapade. But suddenly it feels like there's so many vectors to like get this done. It's like, yeah, you were built for knocking out, you were built to like shoot things or like to do military stuff. This is just this looks like it'll be easy for yourself.
Yeah, well, my modifications are all about getting from point A to point B. So I record the details of the security system on the server room because I think because if I can get into the server room, I think we're done. And then I, make my way out, behind walking behind a forklift that's carrying pallets in.
Yeah. God, can't believe I got a crit in the first action roll. I'm fine. It's an old bellyache of mine. All right, Iguana, is there anything you want to do for all this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add a second layer to this whole operation.
Oh.
By saying like on the meta level, I just know that we need to get, like, after we freed we need to get the vending machine out of our block, because otherwise there will be like the whole trouble with like engineers and security people and shit, and they're just like scanning the place and getting our block in trouble, and we can't have that. So I'm talking to people that owe me, and I try to get a group of folks together that will, on my command, just remove the vending machine and place it like a couple 100 meters, a few blocks away from here.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, I think like in the 55, there's people are pretty well. Again, actually, no, you're the one that they're suspicious of, or at least kind of like. So there might be some risk to this, but I like this extra layer. I'm fond of it. So why don't we do an action roll for this? I should also say that, like, don't worry about spending luck in this moment, because you also get luck and engagement roll. I think it's the third time I've said it because I keep forgetting. But yeah, so this just looks like Iguana going around being like, all right, we're gonna do a thing, but once this thing's gonna happen, we need to move the vending machine. All right, cool. What action rating are you rolling for this?
That's something I'm struggling a bit, because it's like English and quite abstract, but I think I can make a case for connect here, because it's saying here with I can connect with community members, and that's basically what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be risky limited, and I'll explain why. Limited effect because connecting is kind of like being open with them, being honest. So and you've already established they're kind of like, yeah, but even though you've been here 30 years, so the only reason it's not no effects because you've been here for quite some time, so you're a known quantity, but it's still going to be limited. If you go with spin, which is influencing someone with guile, charm, or logic, that effect goes up to standard, but you won't have any dice to roll.
Right. Yeah.
You can still spend luck to get dice, and you still get an assist, but you also get XP.
Yeah. Well, if you think spin is a better fit, I'm willing to go for that. It's
up to you. You can roll.
With you.
Yeah. There's it is a kind
the
of
nuances,
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you. Like roll and connect, you get
No.
limited effect, but you get 1 die at the start. If you roll with spin, you get 0 die, but you can push to like get more dice, and you'll get better effect.
Andre is quite pragmatic, so if you're calling for spin, he's doing it because that's what's need to be done. And then I just push myself to get a die for it.
Yes, you spend 2 luck.
Well, I'm willing to assist if you want.
Okay.
Due to the fact that, people know me around here. I'm a little bit of a local legend. So sure. I think with 2 of us there, we could really lean on them a bit better. So I'll spend a luck.
Hell yeah. So you've got 2d6.
Yes, that sounds good.
How does he get 2d6, Leandro?
Oh, because he's using spin, because he had 0 0
He's got
dice.
0 spin.
Yes.
So I've given him 1, and he's pushed himself as well, is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2. Yeah.
Okay, so that's risky standard.
Oh, I've rolled 5 apparently.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you roll 5 dice or you rolled a 5?
Yeah. No, I wrote 5 dice. I had 3 dice marked from previous action. I re-rolled it, and that's a 3. That's pretty bad.
Oh, man. Okay. So on a 3, on a risky, things go badly. So for level 2 condition, a complication occurs, you end up in a desperate position, you lose this opportunity. Okay, so okay. I think the community is like, you've got Johnny November with you, who is a local legend, who is like, that's not gonna have an effect. But I think it's almost like the two of you cancel each other out. You've got the local legend and you've got the weirdo tech vendor. And so people are kind of like torn. People are kind of like mixed. And
can I make a call for making it a bit worse? Because maybe if we have some gangs within the community and there's just some guy that got higher up in the ranks and I didn't notice it, and now he's like, no, old man, I ain't gonna owe you shit. while side-eyeing the dog, right?
Yeah, I think that's gonna translate to some heat in the community. I think we get a shot of like, as like this gang is kind of like this young punk who probably has like a vest with torn sleeves and cyber shades on. He's like, Johnny did us a solid, but you have never done us a solid. Well, whatever you're planning, we'll keep watch, but we ain't dancing to any iguana's tune here.
Well, you wouldn't be dancing if I wouldn't have repaired your shitty leg. Just let me check. Okay, that was 2,100. That was in 2077. That was in 2081. That was in 2082. 3 times by now.
Johnny, why are you hanging out with this clown?
He's a good guy deep down. Just give him some time.
I think as this is kind of happening, there's like we don't see who it is, but we do see someone hold out a phone and text and start like texting mysteriously. So I'm gonna put a clock. It's gonna be a force-up clock. It's gonna be Mellow Mart awareness. So when that clock fills up, your position is gonna get worse, no matter what your position is going to be for this score. You can choose to resist this consequence if you want to.
Well, not really, because it's just adding a bit spice to the community here. So if Paul, if you don't think it's a good idea.
No. Single point on a clock's not terrible.
Okay.
Let's roll with it.
Cool. All right. So beautiful stuff. Community's a bit torn about yourselves. Okay. So I think that's kind of some good info gathered. So anyway, why don't we start off next week with an engagement roll instead of starting it right now, and then next week we're like, oh yeah, whoa. So we're gonna kick off next session with the engagement roll for this score and see how they go. Okay, so there's like 2 things we need to do when we end the session. And we probably won't get much of it. There won't be a big change. We only got like a bit of role play. But we're still gonna do it just so we get used to it. First thing is review bonds. So each player kind of read through your current bonds and decide whether or not they're still relevant, true, or interesting. Obviously, like not much happened, so but that's what we're gonna do. Definitely this at the end of each session. If that bond has changed, you can mark 1 XP on your character sheet, which I suspect none of those bonds are going to change right now since we're only just feeling them out. If I'm right with that assumption, feel free to correct me if you think that bond has changed. All right. And the other thing to review is milestones. So look through like your pair's milestones and see if like you've gained one or more. I should also say that like if there's any specific milestone you're looking to like achieve at the start of next session, I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna try to like make sure the session is like directed to achieving those milestones. I suspect again none of them is gonna be hit tonight, but that's something we're gonna be looking into next week. Cool. Other than that, that's it for this session. So thank you all so much for anyone who's watching, but for players, these are some cool characters. I love this stack, and there's some interesting bonds and some neat complications for sure with some of these bonds. Some straightforward stuff and maybe some potentially murky stuff. So again, thanks to your players for some great world building and character creation. Anyone who's watching this, thank you all for watching or listening, I guess. In the description, there'll be a link to all the Gauntlet stuff and to a link to this game, which again is called Neon Black by Michael Elliott. Find it on itch.io. There'll be a link down below. So I'm going to stop this recording. Thank you all for everyone who's watching or listening. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.